Welcome to this explainer. I'm Dr. Chem, and today we're diving into a complete cinematic educational masterclass on scatter plots and relationship visualization. Now, I know you probably already get the basics of data, but today we're going way beyond the standard boring spreadsheet. We're going to explore exactly how to visualize relationships between variables and detect those hidden trends and patterns accurately. By the end of this lecture, you'll be spotting complex trends, identifying anomalies, and definitely catching when a graph might be subtly trying to mislead you. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is the roadmap for our lecture today. We'll be covering the power of scatter plots, reading relationships and trends, spotting the outliers, expanding dimensions with bubble charts, time and connected scatter plots, and finally, designing accurate visualizations.
Section 1. The power of scatter plots. Finding relationships in a massive sea of raw data can honestly feel like looking for a needle in a haystack.
That's exactly where the scatter plot comes in. It's literally the ultimate hero for finding the truth in your data, an absolute staple in scientific fields. By plotting numerical variables on a standard Cartesian plane, your x and y axes, we transform a completely disordered mess of dots into a crystal clear map. It reveals hidden behaviors and patterns that are just totally invisible when you're staring at rows and columns.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it plays out in the real world. Take a look at this scenario from Florida regarding manatees. When we plot powerboat registrations against manatee fatalities, an undeniable positive association just jumps right out at you. That line slicing through the dots? It shows us that as powerboat registrations go up, tragically the number of manatees killed by powerboats also tends to increase. This single visual lets us instantly grasp a supercritical environmental relationship.
Section 2. Reading relationships and trends. Let's actually break down how we construct and read these charts to find those underlying correlations.
So, just as a quick refresher on the mechanics here, on the horizontal x-axis, we always place our explanatory variable. That's the independent driver, like those powerboat registrations we just talked about. Then, on the vertical y-axis, we track the response variable to see exactly how it reacts to the change happening on the x-axis. It's basically cause and effect visualized.
Now look at the overall shape. A positive association marches steadily upward from left to right. So as one variable goes up, the other goes up with it. Conversely, a negative association slopes downward. Think of it like this. The more times you practice a complex math problem, the less time it takes you to actually solve it, right? Up goes practice, down goes time.
But hey, it's not just about the direction, it's also about the strength of the relationship. Look at the difference between these three graphs. Graph 1 shows a really strong correlation. See how tightly the points are clustered together, hugging that invisible trend line? Graph 2 is a bit looser, so it's a moderate correlation. And graph 3, well, that is just a completely random scatter. If your data looks like graph 3, there's absolutely zero correlation between your variables. They just do not affect each other in any measurable linear way.
So, the crucial point is this. Correlation is not causation. This is literally the golden rule of data science. Just because a scatter plot shows a strong relationship between two variables, it doesn't automatically prove a direct cause and effect linkage. They might both just be responding to some hidden third variable lurking in the background. To truly prove cause and effect, you can't just rely on a graph. You need a well-designed, randomized experiment. Scatter plots open the door to hypotheses, for sure, but they don't lock down the final proof.
Section 3. Spotting the outliers. Let's shift our focus to those rogue data points that just completely refuse to fit nicely into our clear trends.
Finding outliers is a pretty intuitive visual process. Step 1. You examine the scatter plot to figure out the general shape or trend of the crowd. Step 2. You identify the rebels. Those isolated points sitting far, far removed from the rest of that general pattern.
Let's ground this with some concrete, relatable examples. Imagine a plot comparing hours studied to test scores. The normal trend is a solid positive correlation, right? The more hours studied, the higher the score. But suddenly, bam, you spot a dot sitting all the way down at 0 hours studied, but way up at a 98% score. That is a massive outlier. Or think about a negative correlation, driving hours versus gas remaining in the tank. The longer you drive, the less gas you have. But wait, there's a dot showing a car that drove for 9 hours and still has 8 gallons of gas left? No way, that's a huge outlier too. Outliers are just absolutely fascinating because they highlight anomalies that warrant further investigation. I mean, maybe that first student is a literal genius, or maybe that second car just has a ridiculously huge fuel tank.
Section 4, Expanding Dimensions with Bubble Charts. It's time to elevate our data visualization toolkit.
So here's a little puzzle for you. A standard scatter plot uses a horizontal x-axis and a vertical y-axis, right? Which means it limits us to comparing exactly two numerical variables. But what if we have three? How do we show a relationship between three variables on a flat, two-dimensional screen without making a confusing, cluttered mess?
The brilliant answer is the bubble chart. It's an awesome extension of the scatter plot. It uses the horizontal position for the first variable, the vertical position for the second variable, and then it introduces a whole new third dimension, the physical size of the dot itself. Take the 2018 National Football League season, for example. Each bubble represents a team. The x-axis is the average points allowed per game, the y-axis is the points scored per game, and that massive third variable, the team's win rate, is represented by the size of the bubble. So larger bubbles mean more wins. It literally allows us to make three-way comparisons instantly, spotting complex relationships that would usually require multiple separate graphs.
Section 5. Time and Connected Scatter Plots. Now let's move to another fascinating variation that brings the element of time into our relationship mapping.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when our third variable represents time. We get the connected scatter plot. We take our standard scatter plot and simply connect the points with line segments in chronological order. Unlike a standard line graph that just kind of moves dependably from left to right, a connected scatter plot tracks how a relationship between two variables progresses and shifts over time. The line might loop back on itself, zigzag around, or even spiral. It gives us a visual journey, showing not just where the data is, but the exact path it took to get there.
Section 6. Designing Accurate Visualizations. This brings us to our final, absolutely critical section about the ethics of chart design and how easily scales can be manipulated. Check out this mock data from Empire Stats comparing two products. Product A has a 92% satisfaction score, and Product B has a 96% score. Honestly, the real difference here is only 4 percentage points. They're both highly rated. But imagine if you plotted this on a bar chart, and instead of starting the vertical y-axis at 0, you started it way up at 90%. Suddenly, Product B's bar would look several times taller than Product A's. A mere 4% difference is visually exaggerated to look like an absolute landslide victory. This is what we call a truncated y-axis, and it's a very classic trick used to make data look incredibly misleading.
To protect yourself, you really need a quick checklist for spotting these misleading graphs. Always ask yourself, does the y-axis actually start at 0? Are the axis labels clearly visible, or are they suspiciously hidden? Are the intervals mathematically consistent, like jumping by 10s or 20s, or do they skip numbers to create fake drama? And most importantly, look at the actual numbers. Do the visual heights of the shapes truly match the real numerical difference? Small differences can be dangerously exaggerated by a missing baseline.
Let's move on and see how this builds into a vital distinction in chart design. You see, bar charts must start at 0. Why? Because the physical visual height of the bar literally represents the total value. If you chop the bottom off, you completely destroy the true proportion. But here's the plot twist. Scatter plots and line plots actually can use a truncated axis. In fact, data visualization experts often recommend setting the limits on a scatter plot as close as possible to the dataset range to create what's called a lumpy profile. This cuts out wasted whitespace and actually helps you zoom in to see the small variances and correlations in the dot patterns. But, and this is a big but, that's only okay if the axes are clearly and honestly labeled.
We'll leave it there with this fantastic quote from Empire Stats. A good graph should make data easier to understand, not easier to misinterpret. The underlying data might be perfectly real, but the visual scale can completely change the story you're being told. So, I leave you with this final provocative question. Next time you see a dramatic, alarming trend flashed on the evening news, will you just blindly look at the shape of the data or will you check the baseline first? Thank you for joining me, Dr. Chem, for this masterclass on data relationships. Keep questioning the data and keep exploring.